Good day, folks, and welcome back to Ed's Garage. Today I'm at Bannister Hyundai looking at the 2026 Hyundai Venue Preferred Trim. So the reason I'm doing this video is because I had thought that by now, 6 years after these came out, that this would have been redesigned for Canadian markets, heck, North American markets, and it isn't. It's still the same shape, the same style, the same body. But has anything changed? Well, that's what we're going to find out today. So for anyone looking for a sub $30,000 micro SUV, the Venue is still a great option. There's not really a whole lot of competition in the market, at least not in North America, for vehicles of this size and shape. And quite frankly, the Venue still does a really good job beating the competition in a lot of ways. So let's start at the front. We'll go over everything that you get on this particular one. This is the preferred trim. So it's not the absolute base model. It'd be one above the base. In the United States, I think this is called the SEL. Here in Canada, it's called the preferred. So what do we got? Well, starting at the front, you can see we've got projector headlamps. They are halogen bulbs though. No LEDs in this one at the front or the back. There's some LED lighting inside, but that's like behind the stereo. there's very, very little LED on this vehicle, which is hilarious to me in 2026. So we got the Hyundai badge on the front there, front grille, pretty basic. We do have a little air curtain pass-throughs, and we do have aluminum alloy wheels, so that's kind of nice to see. These are the, let's see, we got Hankook Kinergy GT tires. Hankook is actually not a bad brand. It's a pretty decent tire. They're just an all-season tire, 185, 65, 15. And it does have drum brakes in the back. I was gonna say it does have four-wheel disc brakes, but it doesn't. It's got drums in the back. It does, however, have the forward-facing camera for the autonomous emergency braking system and lane keep assistance. This one does have the black roof, and it's got the offset roof rails. That's a nice touch. We've got marker lights on the mirrors. That's also a nice touch. We've got proximity entry with push button to open up the door, and of course push button start. It's got blind spot monitor. That's also really good. Coming around to the back, well, not much to say here, is there? We've got a window wiper, Venue written out. That's kind of nice. And then one thing I've always liked about the Venue was, despite this being a very, very small car, well, I can't quite stand under it, but this does open quite far. A lot of vehicles this size, the tailgate would open up to only about this high, and I'd be banging my eyeballs into it. So this does have enough room, and it's got a handle on the inside, so you don't have to get your hands dirty. Another cool thing about the Venue, back here, there's actually a whole bunch of space under the floor. Look at that. So you can actually drop the floor down if you want. You can have, there's two heights. This floor, a little hard to do with one hand, so I'll just leave it. But it goes down to this height down here, and then kind of sits on this, and then that gives you a whole bunch of extra height, which is kind of cool. Also, which is kind of nice, is this little parcel shelf here, whatever you want to call it. You can either take it out completely, or you can store it right there. That's a nice touch as well. Okay, that's pretty much all there is to talk about back here. So let's go into the back seat. Now, I've left the front seat in the position that I would drive it. And by the way, when the seats are down, they are the same height as the floor. So that's also pretty nice. Okay, let's get this raised up here. Now, can a 6'2" person sit behind a 6'2" person? And the answer is yes, just. So I've got about a finger's width in front of my knees here. I do, however, have lots of headroom, so that's kind of nice. In this trim, no padded armrest on the doors, unfortunately, and there's no center armrest. There's a little bit of room underneath the front seat to slide my feet, so that's kind of nice. Grab handles in 3 positions, and as I mentioned, no LED lights, not even inside. All right, let's go to the front seat. First, the passenger side, and the passenger today is my camera bag. So we have adjustment for the backrest, so 1, 2, and adjustment for the seat base, 3, 4. So 4-way adjustable manual seat, okay? There is a bottle holder in the door pocket, and there's a little tiny shelf above the glove box. Unfortunately, it's not rubberized, so if you do have anything in there, it's gonna slide around. Okay, let's go into the driver's side. Now the driver does get 2 extra positions here for the seat. It goes up and down. That's what this handle is for right here. It's a kind of a pump mechanism. You can pump it up or pump it down. So 6-way adjustable manual driver's seat. Now that we're in the front seat, this is where you can start to see a little bit more Hyundai. What I mean by that is there's actually quite a few features in this very entry-level vehicle. Starting with the steering wheel, you'll notice we have on the left-hand side here all the controls for the media system. We got a voice recognition button, mode, so where music's coming from, volume up and down, answer, a customizable star button here, so you can press that the first time, it'll ask you what you want to do with it. Next track, previous track. Behind the steering wheel on the left-hand side, we have the headlights stock here. Now it does, of course, have auto headlights, but it's also got auto high beams. That's pretty cool. So it's using that forward-facing camera there to detect oncoming vehicles or vehicles in front of you. On the right-hand side, you'll notice we've got these 3 buttons here, which control the little screen in the middle, and then we've got cruise control as well, which is kind of nice. And then on the right-hand stock, it is, of course, just your window wiper washer stock. However, when you turn it on, it shows you in this screen what setting it's on, and that is awesome. Left door, of course, you have your controls for your windows, your mirrors, as well as your locks. And then on the left of the dash, you have your dimmer switch here, and then traction and stability control. Behind the steering wheel, check this out, you do get a digital instrument cluster. Pretty nice. Now, it's not one full screen. On this side here, this is kind of a small sort of TFT screen. There's another little LCD screen in the middle here and another TFT screen on the right. So it's not all screen, but it is all digital. So that's kind of cool. Now, one thing that's nice is that when I change the drive mode, you'll see it changes the color. So we've got this sort of turquoisey blue for eco, we've got a normal, and we've got a sport. But check this out. If I press the drive mode button, which I'll show you in a minute, we actually have snow, mud, and sand, and those do things. Even though this is not an all-wheel drive vehicle, this is just a regular front-wheel drive. Hyundai's traction stability control is some of the best in the business. So when you put the vehicle into those different traction modes, I promise you it makes a difference. This little car, despite being front-wheel drive, is an absolute monster in the snow. Obviously not, 12-inch deep snow, 8 inches or less. You will be amazed at what this 2-wheel drive vehicle can do. Those little pizza cutter tires get down to the ground and it tugs you through really, really well with that traction stability control system. Basically, in the snow mode, it's going to start off slower so that, it mitigates slipping, but it's also going to tighten up the traction control, forcing power to the other wheel when necessary, when one of the wheels slips, and it does so really, really well. The sand and mud modes will do similar things, but in different amounts and different effects. But the fact that it has a mud mode and a sand mode in a front-wheel drive vehicle is hilarious. The engine in this vehicle, by the way, speaking of traction and drivetrain, all that stuff, the engine in this vehicle is a 1.6 liter. It's non-turbo. It's not very powerful. I think it's 118 horsepower if I remember correctly. But it's perfectly fine. It'll get you up to speed. It's mated to an IVT transmission, an infinitely variable transmission. It's kind of like a CVT, but slightly different. It's chain-driven. And Hyundai really hasn't had any issues with the IVTs. They've been pretty robust transmissions. Personally, I'm not a fan of CVT or IVT transmissions, but if I absolutely had to get one, this one's not terrible. It's got the little fake shift points and stuff, and it doesn't really seem like you're driving a CVT, and it's reliable to boot. So yeah, it's not terrible. All right, having a look at the other stuff in this screen. So on the right-hand side, you'll notice we got a tachometer, which is kind of cool. On the left-hand side is our digital speedometer. In the middle, we have a customizable screen. So currently we're looking at sort of a surrounding the car, what's actually going on around the car. However, if I want, I can control that screen with these 3 buttons here. So this top button will cycle to the right. As you can see, there are 4 different screens. And then the little toggle will go up and down within those 4 screens if they have the option. And then there's an OK button at the bottom here. So for instance, right now we're looking at OK for settings. If I hold the OK button, it's going to bring up the settings screen for driver assistance. So that's a driver assistance settings that it's referring to. But let's go back to this one here. We're going to bump over to the right by pressing that top button again. And we have our drive info, since refueling, and accumulated info. That's your 3 different trip computers, all of which can be reset with holding that OK button. However, drive info will reset every time you start the car, and then the next one down, using the toggle switch now, This will reset every time you get gas, and then the bottom one will reset whenever you hold that OK button. Bumping one screen over, we have our user settings, which I'll get to in a moment, and then another screen over is our tire pressure monitor. This will all control itself. If you have a low tire and you fill it up, after you drive around for a while with the tire pressure at the correct pressure, it'll automatically reset. If you do a tire rotation, it'll also automatically figure out where the tires are. You don't need to reprogram it every time. Pretty cool. All right, let's go to the user settings and run through this real quick. So we have driver assistance settings. We have our warning volume. So basically our warning volume means that we can change how loud it is when it warns us of, blind spot, collision warning, that sort of thing. Driver attention warning system. So this is our leading vehicle departure alert. This is pretty cool that this, fairly inexpensive vehicle has this. When a vehicle in front of you takes off at a stoplight, once the light's gone green, it'll give you that indicator to go if you don't go. Driving safety, so we have our forward safety warning system. We have our forward safety, this is the warning system, so when it actually warns you, if you want it to warn you early or late. And forward safety is also crash avoidance, so it will hit the brakes as well. We got lane safety, where it'll actually steer you back onto your lane if you start to drift outside your lane. We've got the blind spot monitoring right here, and then safe exit assist. Blind spot monitoring is also rear cross traffic alert, so if cars are coming across the back of you when you're backing out of a parking spot. The safe exit assist is if you're parallel parked, as an example, and you are about to open up the door, it'll give you a warning not to, because there's a car coming. And that's driver assistance. So if we go back, we've got cluster options, we've got cluster theme. So now if we wanted to, instead of linking the cluster colors to the drive mode, we can just change the color for whatever we want. We've got our wiper lights display, so that's where, when you turn on the wiper, it tells you what setting it's on, or if you change the headlight setting, it'll tell you that in the screen as well. Icy road warning, so any temperature below 4 degrees, it'll just warn you that there might be ice in the road. And a welcome sound, so when you turn on the car, it plays a little tune. Under lights, we have dashboard illumination. Okay, so it's the same as a dimmer switch. We have our one-touch turn signal. So if you tap the turn signal stalk, it'll flash 3, 5, or 7 times on its own and then stop on its own, and you can turn that off as well. Headlight delay, so when you shut the car off and get out, it'll keep the headlights on for about 30 seconds, and then high beam assistance right there as well, which is kind of nice. Door, you can have it automatically lock or unlock when you put the vehicle into drive and park, and then you also have 2 press, so if you want the doors to unlock, like if you want all 4 of them to unlock when you press the unlock button, it'll do so, or you can have it so that you have to press it twice to do that, and then once for just the driver's door. Under convenience, you see we have a rear occupant alert, so if the rear doors are opened up at any time, basically it remembers that, and when you shut the car off, it reminds you to check the rear seats. And here's also where you can change your service interval and your oil change reminder. You can reset them there as well. We have our wireless charging system. What that is in this fairly entry-level vehicle, you can see we actually have a wireless charging pad right here for cell phones that are capable of wireless charging. Pretty cool. And here's where you can enable and disable that. Auto rear wiper, so when your front wipers are on, if you check this, that means that when your vehicle is in reverse, it'll turn the rear wiper on for you. That's everything in convenience. Units is just where you can set, kilometers, miles, that sort of thing. And then you can do a full reset from there as well. Now the next thing over, as I mentioned before, is your tire pressure monitor, and that's everything in that screen. All right. Before I get too far ahead of myself here, one of the coolest parts of the Hyundai Venue is the fact that it doesn't have Hyundai's silly new key fob. This one actually has a good old-fashioned regular rectangular looking key fob, but it does have one very nice function, and that is remote start right there. The cool thing about the remote start on this key is that after you remote start the vehicle and you get into the vehicle, you don't then need to press the start button again. It actually just recognizes that the key is there, comes to life, and lets you drive. Now, it does not let you drive if you don't have the key. Okay, so you do absolutely have to have the key fob with you, but unlike most car companies' remote starts, you don't have to get in and press the start button again. So that's kind of nice. Looking at the center console, we've got a couple of cup holders here. We've got a center console storage. It's not huge, but it's there. You do have a padded armrest here. That's kind of nice. No padded armrests on the front doors either, though, unfortunately. Okay, in front of the cup holders, here's where the drive mode and traction mode button is. So that's where you'll find that. To the left of that, you'll see we've got heated seats on both sides and a heated steering wheel. And one of the nice things about the heated steering wheel is the whole steering wheel. It's not just the grips or the bottom half or top half. If you're comparing this to other brands, check that, because a lot of them will only do, for instance, the grips. So like a Mazda CX-3, for instance, is just the grips, not the whole steering wheel. Kind of silly. Shifter. So it does have manual mode. So when it's in the left position here, you can shift up and shift down, but keep in mind it is an IVT transmission, so shifting gears is kind of pointless. Again, there's your wireless charging system, but in front of that you do have a USB-A port, which you could plug into, but there's also a USB-C port here for higher power charging. This one, by the way, also connects to the screen. So if you want to use wired CarPlay and wired Android Auto, you can do so, but this does have wireless CarPlay and wireless Android Auto as well. Now, there isn't normally this much glare on it, so let me just pull that off. There we go, that's a little better. By the way, non-polarized screens, both of them, so if you're wearing sunglasses that are polarized, you'll still be able to see what's on both screens. You got a 12-volt port in the middle here, and then above that, manual climate control. Of course, it does have AC, which is nice. And then above that, we can see the hazard button there. We've got a big volume knob. It's also a power button, so if you hold that down, it'll shut the screen off. We got radio, which will take you to AM, FM, media, which will take you to AM, FM, USB, Bluetooth, or CarPlay or Android Auto, so you can track your obvious. This one is actually a customizable button, so like the one on the steering wheel, the first time you press it, it asks you what you want it to do. I like setting that to phone projection, so that's CarPlay, Android Auto. Setup, which will take you directly to the setup screen, and then we have our enter button here, which is also a tuning button. And then in between setup and the tuning knob is a little tiny reset button. So if the infotainment system screws up for whatever reason, that reset button will cause this to reboot. Now the infotainment system, it's pretty simple, however it's powerful. So it's an 8-inch touchscreen, which is nice. It's actually pretty quick. It's, you know, it's not super laggy or anything like that. A lot of companies have touchscreens nowadays, and not all of them are going to be as good as this one. This is actually pretty decent, especially on an entry-level vehicle. But that's really what Hyundai does well, right? Like their tech is awesome. So on the main screen here, you can see this is where it'll preview what you've got playing on the radio or what you've got playing from your cell phone or whatever. On the right-hand side, normally it would say Apple CarPlay, Android Auto here. By the way, this sort of stuff is customizable, so if you hold it down, you can choose what you want to have there. So that's kind of nice as well. So for instance, that was the phone projection button, but I've also configured this to do that. So if we want, we can have that as the clock instead, so you always have that clock there on the home screen. The phone button will just take you into your phone menu, of course, pretty straightforward. Media will take you right to your media menu, obvious. And then there's another setup button there. Menu here allows you to edit the screen a little bit, and if you hit manual on web, if you scan this, it'll take you directly to the portion of your user manual that talks about the home screen on the stereo. Pretty smart. All right, let's go to all menus. Some of the stuff we just saw is in there as well. Voice memo allows you to record your own voice and then play it back later. You can go to the full user manual there if you want. So yeah, pretty simple and basic, but works really, really well, especially when you're using it for Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. Another cool thing here, if you need to edit the time, you just tap the time and it takes you right into the settings for that. The only thing you'll ever really need to do though is set the daylight savings time on and off, because once you've got your time set, well, actually it does it automatically because it has, I don't know how it does it. Apparently it's got GPS time. Oh, sorry. Time zone. What? Wait, it does have GPS time. Okay, so that's really weird. This vehicle does not have a GPS and it does not have Blue Link. I have no idea where it's getting its time information from, but it won't do the time zone or the daylight savings time, but it will set the time correctly and the date correctly. Crazy. All right, let's look at some of the other things in the settings here just while we're here. So in basic settings, you got your sound settings, which is where you can change your sound speed dependent volume control. So the faster you go, the louder it gets. Start a volume limit so you don't have to freak out the next person that drives the car if you crank the music. Position, so where the audio is coming from, okay? Tone, treble, bass, mid-range, pretty simple. We have guidance volumes, and that's going to be if you're using, it's not really guidance actually.
On from your device in order to search. On your device,
So
select the name that matches vehicle name on the screen.
interesting that it's doing that, because that is the voice prompt, but when I hit the voice recognition button here, it's going to say, hey, this car doesn't have built-in voice recognition. You actually have to have your phone connected. So there are some voice prompts. So for instance, when you are connecting your phone, it comes up with a voice prompt. And I guess that was the volume for that, the voice prompt volume. And there's no built-in navigation either. So having a guidance volume doesn't really make much sense. But anyway, this is where you would change your beep level, your ringtone level, your voice prompt, and your alerts prompts, volumes. Okay, radio noise. This is for FM radio mainly. So this just reduces some background static. We have driver assistance warning, so you can actually have it automatically lower your audio music when any of the warnings come on, or if you're parking, like if you have it in reverse. And then connected devices, here's where you can change the volume of your Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. Okay, let's back out of there. Device connections, this is where you would connect your phone. Okay, so here for instance, if I were to go add new now, okay, there's that voice again. Right, we're just going to cancel that. I'm going to delete this Hari Be Good guy, because he shouldn't be in there. As you can see, everything's really, really easy, and the touchscreen is quite responsive. Phone projection, of course, wireless. Okay, so that's device connections. Display allows you to adjust your screen brightness right away from here, but it is automatic. We have a blue light filter, so this is cool. So as it gets dark, it'll actually filter out blue light, or you can have it do that at a scheduled time. Screensaver is just whether or not you want to have a clock come up when you shut the screen off, and you can even set what type of clock you have. So if you like one of these better than the other, for instance, so if I hold the power button now, it'll be a clock. That's kind of fancy, right? Okay, extend rear camera use if you want the rear camera to stay on after you put it back into drive coming out of reverse. And then audio system on off. You can continue to play media when the vehicle's turned off. So that's pretty much everything in the setup, with the exception of, oh, sorry, it's not everything in setup. What am I talking about? You got the button settings here, so that's the custom button on the stereo, custom button on the screen, and also the mode button on the steering wheel, so you can actually have it cycle through everything or just the ones that you listen to. So that's kind of nice. General, this would just be where you can do your system updates. System updates are done through a USB stick. You can also go into your date and time settings from here, language settings, keyboard options, that sort of thing. And then Wi-Fi is just where you can turn on your phone projection, wireless CarPlay, wireless Android Auto. Pretty simple. The last thing on this screen, of course, is the backup camera. So let's have a quick look at that. Really nice screen for backup camera. It's actually pretty clear. A good high resolution screen for an inexpensive vehicle with great resolution and great refresh rate on those dynamic steering lines. There's a few settings in here you can adjust as well. The parking lines, you can turn that on and off, and you can change the daylight and night brightness and contrast. Okay, that's it for that screen. We have a manually controlled mirror, and it is upside down. What the heck? That's interesting. There we go. But yeah, it's a manually dimming mirror. All right, headliner. There's your controls for your interior lighting. So on when the doors are open, on all the time, or off all the time. Side visors do not slide out. At least that one doesn't. This one does. Driver's side does. They do, however, both have lights, and they both have mirrors. So that's good. I'm going to end the video there. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any comments, questions, or if this video helped you out at all, please don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. Until next time, have a great day. Take care.